So let's start with Logstash. So Logstash, FileBeat, MetricBeat, APM, all these are the different uh, agent or a system or a process or a tool which is offered by Elasticsearch to collect the data from one location and move it back into Elasticsearch. So that is a one-line definition. Each has its own purpose and own purposeful need. We will understand one by one. So starting with Logstash, right? The ELK stack become quite famous because of the Logstash. I cannot deny that. Reason is Logstash is such a powerful tool. You will be able to perform a lot of operations in Logstash without any sort of sweat. Like starting from getting data from different location, processing those data, and trying to load the data into the different destination. So the architecture, how Logstash is being created, they have a three-layer architecture. They call something called input, filter, and the output. Here the input defines like what is the source from which you are able to take the data. It can be a simple file system, it could be a log system, or it could be a database. That's the definition of the input. Filter, on the other hand, if you it is like more of a transforming certain values from one format to the other. You will see in detail. And the output is you can push it to a different destination. One beauty or one elegance of Logstash is output is not only restricted to Elastic, it also can push to all other different data sources which are quite famous out there. Now coming into the details, right? Like as I mentioned, it's a data processing tool. It can try to take the data from multiple sources, not one single sources. It can take from data from multiple sources and can help you to index into all different location. So coming on to the role of Logstash, right? Now let's think about the key part over here. I just wanted to go to the input plugin. So as I mentioned, there is a three kind of a plugins available in Logstash, something called input, filter, and output. The input plugin defines like what are the different sources it actually supports to collect the data from it. It can actually read the data from S3 bucket, it can read the data from Salesforce, it can read the data from SQLite, even Twitter feed, HTTP API call, and any protocol, the famous protocol you see out there, even JDBC call, etc. Right? It will be able to work seamlessly without any sort of a problem. So it has like numerous number of data sources from which you can take the data. And let's look into the output plugin. Then we will look into the filtering part. As I mentioned earlier, Logstash is not only restricted to write the data to Elastic, it also supports other data sources. It can push the data to a CloudWatch. It can dump the data into a CSV. It can push to Datadog to Datadog. Or more importantly, if you wanted to put it to some Google PubSub queue, or if you wanted to put it into Redis or S3 bucket or a syslog, it can help you to move the data into multiple different locations. Even like the big data architecture like the web-based right? It also supports the data to movement to those areas as well. So that is the beauty part, how Logstash is all being defined. Now coming to the filtering plugin here, the filtering plugin helps you to convert the data. Let's think about a simple data format, right? I just wanted to show you one simple data format where the transformation is required. I'm just going to say Windows logs. Good. So I'm just going to open a simple Windows log machine, and please have a watch on to the timestamp here. It says at 9/5/2016 405 and the second, etc. On the other tab, if I go something called Linux logs, and if I open it up, Linux file stamps are like slightly different. Sometimes it has the different format like the Unix timestamps, or if you wanted to go into detail, right? This is a weblog. You see 31 October 2017. There's other time format also. You might see June 21, 12, 30, and 45. Just with a simple timestamp, right? Depending upon which system you interact, how people represent timestamp is greatly varies. Some people will be comfortable with the human readable format. Some would be like more comfortable with the machine readable format. So, but as if you are a system admin or if you're admin, right, or if you wanted to manage some data, you don't really care how the data is represented in different system. All you care is that, hey, at 5:30 p.m., where exactly the outage happened. I don't care if it's a Windows machine or a Linux machine, or within Linux machine, it's a Apache server or a Linux server. I just exactly want to pinpoint where exactly the problem is happening. If that is the case, I need to have a sophisticated engine or a mechanism where I can convert the date into some standard format before I want to index into Elasticsearch. Do you agree with me? Without normalizing the date, right? If I index into Elasticsearch, what might would be the problem? Any thoughts? So the problem you might encounter if you don't organize the data, you might be seeing that June 21st in one log. And if I'm using another system, right, I might be seeing a different timestamp. I'll not be able to do a centralized security or a auditing mechanism in it. So I need a sophisticated engine to figure out the normalization. Now, if you come all the way to the filter plugin, all these different transformations will be done with the help of filter plugin here. In this case, we have one of the filter as a date. Not only date, there is also other options like fingerprint and modifying certain values to it. Like how can I give an example here? Think about this example. Maybe let's take this example. The whole content has been a single line because computer doesn't represent, hey, I'm going to give you the IP address, a timestamp, where the originated, the UT, the timestamp, etc. It gives you the complete information over here. If you wanted to capture it in that way, then you need to have the filter plugin which can process the data accordingly, like splitting, etc., so that you'll be able to extract it. And the other good example, if you can think about the uh, filter plugin, just to think about think about the computer memory, right? Somebody might say that 128 or 123 MB. Maybe the file size, if it exceeds a GB, it's gonna start saying that 1.1 GB or 5.56 GB. But if you wanted to understand, hey, how many files have been total files has been downloaded by this user for a given timestamp, you don't want to see that, hey, he's having like a 123 MB separately and these many GB separately. You like to see that into a standard format or standard unit so that you can understand like how many MBs or GBs they have downloaded in total. All these sort of transformations are possible with the help of the filter plugin. So they have the CI/CD and removes the event. And even importantly, if you wanted to don't want to store some data, right? Think about the credit card details. Assuming that if you are tracking the credit card details and if you want to do, by principle, you should not store any PIA data unless until it is mandated. If you wanted to store the credit card, if you want to remove the credit card number, right, you need to drop certain events before event is coming to Elastic because assuming that if you have credit card showing up in your log file, right, anybody who has access to the credit card number will be able to make a purchase. Even accidentally, if they can make a random purchase here and there, that's going to be a data breach altogether. Instead, if you wanted to drop that event and just say that, hey, this is a transaction made from this account number, that is much safer. Instead, if you go and pinpoint and say that you want to access the credit card detail, if you want to drop it, those would be a much more safer option. So these are the potential ways through which people tend to work on with the dropping the certain event. So it's not only like adding or transforming the event, it is also help you to drop some of the values which is not required you to process that into Elasticsearch. Now coming back to it, so this is how the whole system has been defined. You have the input filter and you have the output plugin. Now coming to the input plugin, once again we have around like a different types here. If you're looking for a cloud services or message queue, APIs, DevOps, application tool, or a custom generator or a special integration. All these are like available for you. Likewise, these are like a broader categories I've just made into the from the infill plugin. And from the filter plugin, you can extract and parse the data. If you want to modify something or mute it on top of it, then the mutate, alter, truncate, all these will be super helpful. Or in case if you wanted to make some enhancement to the existing one, right? Like enhancement or trying to add some values to it, then you can use the enrich and enhance part. The last but not the least, if you wanted to aggregate the data from multiple machines, so like a timing or a threshold logic, then this would be super helpful. Think about this distributed example, right? If you wanted to do a API rate limiting and assuming that it's a PHY service which is helping you to do a load balancing. From a user perspective, what we will be defining, hey, only you can making a 5 API requests per minute, which means that if each of the requests went to all these different machines, then I need a mechanism to verify, hey, whether all the 5 requests has been exhausted or not. Only then I'll be able to say that you have exhausted the API limit completely. Then I should be able to revert back to the user saying that you have exhausted. So you need the aggregation, which means like pulling up the data from multiple sources and you wanted to aggregate it separately. That is the whole idea here. Now coming to the output plugin, the data dispatcher. So you have your air traffic controller. Think of like air traffic controller, right? Who wants to move to the different location. The standard destination is Elastic, but not only Elastic. If you wanted to push it to a messaging queue or a storage archival, that is also quite possible. Now let's look into a simple way how we can index a CSV file into Elasticsearch. Assuming that I have a simple CSV file and I have mentioned the location here. And if I wanted to move the file with having all these different columns and my output destination is going to look like. Let's see how the file system looks like. I'm going to open the file. There's the data here. Yeah. Mm, brain.csv. So here in this computer, I have a simple CSV file, which is in my one of my location. It is having the passenger details who have traveled in the Titanic ship. It has all the passenger ID, who survived the accident or not, the passenger class, name, the what is the gender it belonged to, age, and from where the exactly the passment happened, the ticket ID, how much they paid back then, like 7 pounds, and what is the cabin they allocated, from which destination they have been chosen, like Southampton, or what are the different ports in which they have started their journey. Now, our job is to move this data back into Elastic. So going back to the Elasticsearch dev tool, right? I'm just going to open the dev tool. I'm gonna put a get indices command. So we don't have any data points, so I'm gonna put something called Titanic over here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna download the Logstash, which is already there. But for sake of simplicity, I'm gonna download it once again. Logstash download. Go to this location, and the platform is Linux 66. It's all good 9.2.4, which we have verified. So there's already there a file. So there's already a folder. I'm not do something. Everything's already downloaded. It's already there, 9.2.4. I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna paste it in my location. So the Logstash is available. I'm gonna extract the Logstash here. Either you can do it in a Linux environment or Windows, both looks almost the same. Once a job is all been completed, I'm gonna open the terminal here. Once I'm into the terminal, I need to go into the Logstash folder. I'm inside the Logstash folder now. So this how the file system will look like. It has like bin, config, etc. All the different values in it. Now I'm gonna to go inside the config folder. Within config folder, you have like lot of YAML configuration file. Now I'm gonna create a file called logstash -csv indexer. You can name anything of your choice. Now the first and foremost option, I need to go and define like where exactly the input is all about. I need to specify the input. What is the filter I'm gonna do, filtering operation. Then I'm gonna do the output. Now to do the input operation, now it is very clear that I need to choose the data from a file system. So to choose a file system, I need to go to the filter here and you can see something called file here, Steam events from the file. If I click onto it, you will see in examples how people have accomplished to read the data from a file system. Here they would have given the data here. So given that, I'm going to copy this information. I'm going to say that, hey, this is what my input filter is all about. I'm going to copy here. I'm going to paste it now. I'm pasting it here. Once I've pasted, now it says that my data is located in data/elk train.csv. Let's verify whether the location is actually correct. Data ELK train.csv, whether there's any train.csv here. If not, I need to go inside the data folder. That is the only difference here. I need to go on one more folder where the train.csv is located. And I'm saying the start position indicates from where exactly you need to start the whole file operation. It's all clear. Now I've defined from where exactly I need to pull the data. Second most important thing, I'm working with a CSV file, which means that I need to parse the CSV file accordingly. So going to the filter, you will see something called CSV as in a separate utility. If you wanted to work with CSV file or JSON file, they have given this example here. If you go under CSV, they will say how do you choose the columns and convert to an integer to Boolean, etc. All this typecasting can happen. Now I'm gonna say that hey, this CSV is separated by comma. It also can be tab, etc. Depending upon like how it has been implemented. In this case, I've said this comma and what are the different columns are present in it. I've just given all the different columns. Then obviously I need to choose the output here. Output I'm gonna define Elasticsearch should be the output here. Elasticsearch. Let me copy it for simplicity here. So whether all the brackets have been closed? Yes. So I've defined like where exactly my Elasticsearch is located. Now the problem is I did not define where exactly my it's going to be HTTPS. And very importantly, I did not specify what is the username and password for it. To specify the username and password, if you go back to the output plugin and choose Elasticsearch as a destination, right? They would have given like an option to index into how do we specify the username and password. That is that example. So this is for the cloud auth. Let's use Google Help. Logstash Elastic. Yeah, I think can be user and password. Just want to, yeah, this is what it all cares. So just have to add at the end what is the username and password altogether. After that, pasting it here, the username looks fine. I need to change the password. Password I've saved in desktop location. Let me retry, return it. Cat ELK password. Here's my password for Elastic. I'm going to copy here. Copy. I'm going to paste it over here. I'm going to save it. I have saved it. Now to run the Logstash, I just have to type bin/Logstash, very similar to Elasticsearch, right? -f, then conf Logstash and CSV indexer. So here I'm just invoking bin/Logstash, which I'm starting it. Here -f stands for the file where exactly my configuration file looks like, because I need to specify what is the action I need to perform onto my system, right? Whether I should pull the data, filter it, and I need to index it, right? So I'm just gonna specify this piece of information. Once I do it here, it'll take like a few seconds to establish. Then if the configuration file is good, then you'll start to see the data has actually been indexed. If there's a problem, you might start seeing the errors popping up over here. Now you see it says that Elasticsearch is unreachable, and I'm getting authentication. It seems to be ES equal to dead. Let me check whether ES is running properly. So my ES is running. Probably the security, the certificate might be causing the issue. Failed to perform certificate issues there. Let me, I think there's also a way to disable the certificate check, which is straightforward. You just have to set it something to be false here. You see the SSL certification, right? You just have to go and mention not to use any certification validation. I'm gonna set it to validation equal to false. If you are doing properly within the office environment, you'll be creating the certificates and whatnot, which will be obviously provided by your system admin in terms of certificate generation. Let us see whether this helps. Paste, saving it here. I'm gonna run once again. What this error says, command line options are pipeline or there should be an error here. This and elastic password. Let's fix it out. Let me check the error. Could be something on the file. SSL certificate verification equal to and then enable equal to true. Let's check it out now. Or else we need to copy the certificate. It will be straightforward. I don't want to confuse you with all the certificate thing, but let's see. Says that I'm going to copy the property here. Let's check it out. Seems to be running. Let's wait whether it's able to process. Yes. If you notice here in this file, I'm able to see that it's actually started to process all the different records are available in the CSV. The one way to validate whether it's able to process it, right? If you go to the very first record, or it got overflown. Let's go to the last record. It says that dear Mr. Carl Howell. And if I go into my file and go to my last record, Carl, all the different data we see here, right, will be pushed into our system. Let's take an example of this exact file, copying it. I'm going to paste it over here. See, the record got inserted without any sort of a problem into the system until the 890 record, it went properly. Now, if I open to my Kibana here, where is the Kibana here? If I go to Kibana here, the Titanic could be showing up here. It says at 896 record. If I wanted to return the Titanic record, right, I just have to go all the way down, hit Titanic underscore search. All the record what we saw earlier into the CSV now got indexed into Elasticsearch. So this is a very simple example how we are able to accomplish in writing something from your file system back into the Elasticsearch. Any question till this point, guys? Any questions, Will, Deo?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not really following what we're doing. What's the essence of Logstash again?
Can you be slightly loud? I'm not able to hear you
Oh,
clearly. Can you be?
yeah. Why are we installing Logstash again?
Okay, so the reason why we are installing Logstash is to collect the data from a different server. If you wanted to collect the data from application server or log data, right? Then
Uh-huh.
Logstash is one of the agent which will help you to accomplish it. So
Okay.
Kibana is for a simple UI visualization.
Mm-hmm.
Elasticsearch is for the storage, and
Okay.
Logstash is an agent or a tool or a processee which will help you to move the data from source to destination here, Dave and
So
Navel.
do you so do you need Logstash on both servers or just on the
One
on one
server is
server?
sufficient. One server should be sufficient. The server where your logs files are being present, right? Only in that machine you need the log stash.
Okay, so how does that agent talks to the server where the cluster is where the Elasticsearch cluster is running on?
Okay, that's a very good question. I'll help you to answer that question. So if I go and type if config, right, it
Mm-hmm.
basically gives me the IP address. Every time when I hit like 127.0.1 or
Mm-hmm.
localhost, which means that it's actually going to same IP address. But if I try to want to access this through the IP address, right, 190.168.0.1, I might also have other machines in the same network. So if I wanted to copy this and if I wanted to put it over here and type 5601 or should it be I need to, let's see, 9201 HTTP. So whatever we did through localhost, right, everything should be able to accomplish it through the IP address, which means that if my computer is accessible from the remote or through the network, I should be able to access any information without any problem. It is just simply by speaking using the network protocol, which is nothing but the REST API. It's able to communicate with a different server and able to get the data. Just to prove you that point, right? If I type cat indices here and question mark V, you will also see the Titanic dataset 896. You see that on the Kibana, right? So
Yeah.
basically, this acts like a server. Whenever you have installed Elasticsearch in your computer, this acts like a server. And whenever somebody wants to communicate with Elasticsearch with a proper username and password, if it's been defined, then you'll be able to establish the connection. That is the beauty of it. So once you are assuming that if I have my Elasticsearch in a different machine, I should be also able to access it. That is the part over here. Now let's try to do a little tweaking to see whether if it's also possible to use a cloud thing we have installed, right? We will see whether can we also use a cloud version. I'm gonna go to the cloud, Elastic Cloud. I'm gonna create a serverless projects and I want to do you have no host deployment, self-serve, no self-serve, handles upgrades. Let me create a different account. So if you are doing very first time, the whatever process we saw, right, you just have to give your username and password. Once you have done it, you will have the server available over here, and this will give you information. Yeah. Now I can create my own index here. If I want to create a testing Logstash, I'm going to create an index here. Create index, and now I wanted to create an API key. Only through the API key, I'll be able to interact with Elasticsearch in this example. So I wanted to store the information in the first time. Now, let me open it up. We'll just store these informations here. This is my location where my Elasticsearch is being installed at the moment. Now, if I go here and create an API key, unrestricted API key, create. The API key got created. I'm gonna paste it over here. Now the API key is also available. Now I have option how do I want to execute it. Either I can run through curl or I can use a simple Python script to also index into Elasticsearch. Now in this case, either I can use Python as I mentioned earlier, or way simpler, I can try to go inside the system and I can push some values to it. Let's try hitting on this example. They have given all the passwords, etc. Or like I'll show you both ways. In Logstash. So let me create a different file over here. I'm just canceling it out. I'm gonna say cd config nano logstash hyphen cloud indexer. Now I'm here. I wanted to copy the all the properties what I wanted to accomplish. I just want to copy the destination here. Pasting it here. I need to pass in the ID here. Okay, what is my ID I'm interested in? So the ID what I've copied already is from the this location. This is the ID. Paste. And my Elasticsearch authentication, I'm just passing this key. Cloud ID, password. It's all done. I need to copy cat logstash CSV indexer. I just want to copy the first two properties here from this location because I'm just changing where exactly I need to output the data. Now in this example, I've chosen my input to be my file system. All the filtering what we did for the CSV, nothing changes. But my output destination is not my local computer. It's indeed a cloud computer where we have wanted to store the data. I'm going to save this. So just to make sure that we don't have the data already, I'm just going to the discover here. If you go under discover, it says it's completely empty. Either it's saying that create a data view or something. We don't have any data for the moment. So it's no data such available at the moment. So if I or else I can click on to the developer tools, the very own tool we are comfortable in, and I can say get cat indices question mark v. I'll just type the sort. So you don't see any sort of index called Titanic. Let's give a try whether we are able to index it without any sort of a problem. Logstash hyphen F stands for file system configuration Logstash cloud indexer. Slash log. What did it say? Main is configured Elastic. All plugins should be defaulting. Let's check it out, the file. Let me open the file, check once again. Input is fine, open, closed, filter, open, closed, output, open, open, closed. What could be the error? Should be some. Okay. I think instead of the cloud ID, I need to provide the host name. AP key is fine. And your AP key, Titanic, it's all looking good. Cloud author, APA underscore key. I just changed the key value pair. I was using the wrong one. Let's see how it goes. Yes. See, now the data, whatever we have tried earlier, is all being indexed into Elasticsearch now, Elasticsearch in the cloud version. Now, before I'm going to execute the command, you don't see any Titanic word at all here. If I execute again, the Titanic would be shown up here. You see, the Titanic has like 896 record. If you want to verify the same, get Titanic underscore search. You see, whatever the data we have pushed from our local machine all the way to a machine which is located into some different server. Now, does it answer your question, Will and Taylor? Like, why are we actually using Logstash? I'm able to move my file from my local system all the way to a cloud Elastic server, which is located elsewhere in the world.
That makes sense.
Sorry, come again?
Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So the only constraint I would say, if you have a good connection to the Elastic server or the connection is all good to go, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
Elasticsearch should be able to communicate. The only requirement is to have a network connection between your machine or network to the network what you're trying to achieve. Because lot of times within the office network, sometimes without with firewall policy, etc., right? Certain
Yeah.
computers will not be reachable or whatnot. So in that scenario, it is very important to check whether you're able to access the computer either through the ping command or whatnot. In this case, I am in a desktop. Right? I just wanted to check whether I'm able to reach out to a different computer. Let's say 192.168.0.12. I think there should be some other machine with the 12 being pinging to it, but there's no machine at the moment. I can also try whether the machine 10 is available. 10 is also not responding to it. So in this case, I'm not able to reach out to like few of the servers in my computer in my local network because of some restriction. Either they are not allowing them to ping, or it's not actually happening to make it happen. But if I try one or two, it should be able to ping because usually the one IP address will goes to the modem. Modem usually tend to revert back, hey, I'm alive. You wanna do what is the check you need to do? So that is the only difference. Before you want to do any sort of remote established connection, do a simple ping command, verify whether the machine is actually reachable from the computer. Then if you try out the other things, you should be in a good, comfortable position to try it out, okay?
Okay. One other question.
Yeah.
So I know you installed Logstash agent on the other server. Did you install another node, the last any node on the server?
No, no. I
Okay.
use the same node to push the data. I also use the remote node. I did not install any Elasticsearch separate node.
Okay.
But this is
So
yeah,
I'm just trying to follow the architecture still, because a
yeah,
cluster runs on the server, and the cluster also have a node, right?
yeah. I'll do a whiteboarding session. 1 second. I'll draw that for you. So the very first thing we have installed is ES. I'm gonna call it with Elastic. This is the very first thing I have installed in my computer. What we did, we downloaded a package from internet, a zip package, and we installed that in a local computer. So we just installed in a local computer. We were able to install it. How did we do it? We use a bin slash elastic to accomplish it. So in this case, what is actually happening? This machine, right? I'm calling this machine to be one. So this machine is basically having the one ES node. It is having one ES node
Mhm.
and is also having a cluster. It's a cluster having only one computer.
Right.
So the cluster having only one node attached to it. Till this point, are you guys clear? So we
Yeah.
download a package from internet, we installed in a laptop or a desktop, and it has like only one single node. It is also having one single cluster. If you say, hey, how are you saying it's having a single cluster? I can quickly prove that to you. Just go and type localhost 9200. And if you all the way check into it here, right, says that name of the node is equal to Jarvis, which is my machine name, and my cluster name, it says that Elasticsearch. So there's having one node, one cluster. That is by the default setting, it actually works. Now, the next thing we have installed is Kibana. So Kibana also we have installed here, and both Kibana as well as Elasticsearch, they are interacting through localhost because both my Kibana as well as my Elasticsearch is being installed in the same machine. I not installed in two different machine. It is also installed in the same machine. And now recently, in today's session, I have installed Logstash. Logstash is also installed. Even the Logstash is running on the same computer. So I have both my Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana, everything running from a same computer. So that is the reason every time I want to interact with Elasticsearch, I'm using HTTPS localhost colon 9200. I'm not using anything different. I'm using it as is without any sort of a disturbance here. I'm just using it without any problem. Only when if I have to use Elasticsearch, which is installed in a remote computer, that is where I went on mention, hey, we need to change the location where my Elasticsearch is located. That is where we went on modify the location. Hey, this is my host detail and this is my API key. Rest of things like we're able to proceed. Does it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. We saw very quick example. We will also go in tomorrow in detail about like how do we accomplish the other thing. Tomorrow, in tomorrow's example, we will be trying to see how do we capture the log files from the existing machine, the actual log files. So if you wanted to really check the log files on the next machine, right? So there is a thing called tail-f where sudo. So these are the different logs. I'm gonna open the syslog here. It's log or logs. So this is my log of my Linux machine. Any activity I do, if I say if I want to open a Firefox browser, if I'm just opening it up, if you see here, all the Firefox process will be loading up here. My tomorrow's work would be here. Hey, if I wanted to open all the different things in my computer, I want to capture it in real time in Elasticsearch. So that is an example we'll be seeing in tomorrow's lab exercise. How do we take the live log record and keep indexing in real time? And if I also close my Firefox browser, right, things will be happening. If I close it up, then all the process will be saying that it got deactivated successfully, etc. So now our tomorrow job is to read the data from a syslog, and we wanted to index into Elasticsearch, and also wanted to create a visualization on top of it.